Hello, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Offseason podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Brodie and Trevor, and we've got quite an episode ahead of us. There are some stories in here that I had to read like 2 or 3 times because I was just bamboozled by them. But before we get into that too much, I want to just give you a quick reminder that Black Friday is tomorrow, and you can find all kinds of deals over at foundationdiscs.com. I'll just run through them super quick. All of the discs on our site are going to be 20% off. All apparel and accessories are going to be 15% off. We have some incredible Black Friday mystery boxes dropping at 5 p.m. Eastern time. We also have enhanced subscription boxes. There's still some available right now. Not a lot, but still some. If you want to get someone a year-long gift, you can even subscribe to a full year and save there. And then I'm not going to spoil it, but we also have something special dropping on Cyber Monday that'll be announced this weekend. So be sure to stay tuned to all of our social media and check out all the deals going down at foundationdiscs.com. But let's jump into this first story. It's Thanksgiving, well, kind of Thanksgiving themed, from Artie Maupin. He said, as Thanksgiving approaches, I wanted to get the leaves in the yard cleaned up because we had family coming over. I have a real issue of losing discs, and the leaves really make it worse. I'm assuming he must have a course on his property or something because he's getting leaves up at his property and has an issue losing discs there. He said, well, I finally got my hands on a Calvin Tour Series Toro, and unfortunately, because of the leaves, I just lost it. I didn't put a ton of effort into finding it because I knew it would turn up eventually. During my leaf cleanup, I decided the lawnmower was a much easier way. Long story short, I can only throw this Toro about 240 to 250. I found the disc in a pile of leaves with my big John Deere riding mower and literally sent a Toro farther than I think one has ever flown. It was like a space shuttle nose cone on re-entry back to Earth. The blade hits the side of the disc, hit it perfectly on the rim, and slingshot it 600 plus feet in under 2 seconds. I've never seen a disc fly so flat, pure, and fast. It was absolutely insane. Best part, didn't even destroy it. Just put a little gouge in it, still overstable as ever, and I use it in the seats here the next day. That has to say something about the durability of Windows plastic.
There's no way. That can't be true. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, that's a little hyperbole, right?
I don't know.
It has to be. I believe
I
that
could
you
just
shot
read
the
what's written.
disc. I believe it shot the disc, and I believe that part of the story. But you're telling me that thing, I mean, it definitely didn't go 600 feet. I don't think that disc is even capable of that.
If it did go 600 feet,
But
our
I'll tell you-
lawnmower is the best thing to simulate discs when we're testing them. Just
all
run that
this has
sucker
got
over.
me. It's just got me wanting to go out and try and replicate this now. Like I want to see somebody try and shoot a disc with a lawnmower.
Well, have you ever like ran over a tennis ball or anything? Surely.
I've
lawnmower?
shot some things like pine cones. Even you can shoot
Yeah,
them
you
pretty
can
hard.
The thing I'm trying to figure out, and right now, like I think Mark Rober created something, and then someone else on YouTube created like a frisbee launcher. And it's like the one I saw was like with a bike tire, and it's like you got like a U shape, and the bike tire spinning super fast, and you slide the frisbee in, and then the bike tire basically launches it out. Does that generate that much spin on the disc though, or
Well,
is
the
that
problem
just
is
pushes
the part of
it,
the
like
well, the
fast?
part of the equation that you need is that whatever is like you propelling it needs to be able to get traction on it. The way that baseball ones work and football ones work is obviously you've seen them like the jugs machines with the 2 big tires basically.
Mhm.
And from what I understand, the way that those are able to generate as much speed and spin as they do is they actually compress the ball. So that's how they gain traction is by squeezing in on it and almost like imagine you have a ball in your hand,
Pushing
you
it
squeeze
out.
it and pop it out of your hand. Like that is basically how it's getting it. And with a disc, it's a little harder to do that because if you squeeze on it too much, it might just kind of warp. So it needs spin though. Like obviously we know a disc needs like a lot of RPMs. It's pretty much more important than just speed. I don't
It
know.
is
I mean, I
interesting.
guess
But
like
that
when
lawnmower
you
blade got into one though. Like
That's
if it
what I'm
really
saying.
got
He said
into
there's a
it,
gouge.
is if
What if it
you-
like attached to it and like
it might have
that thing out of there?
because when you go on the beach and you do like the airbrushing, right, to kind of with the frisbee and keep it up,
yeah.
you're basically just smacking the side of the disc, which puts a decent amount of rotation on it. So I guess if it perfectly just swacked it, I guess it could have created a decent amount of RPMs on it.
It is like it's obviously a deeper disc, so there's a lot more to hit than like if it was a driver, it probably wouldn't have like been able to get it. I mean, I've got to know. I want to see the video now. And is it up to us? I was going to say we just need to have somebody with a mower blade they don't care about We're just gonna be
You guys are
launching
gonna destroy.
discs.
You guys are gonna destroy so many discs, though. Like the chances that it actually comes out
We'll
good is
just send
so
them.
small.
Well, I
I feel
mean,
like
like
you guys.
Yeah, we'll destroy a lot of discs.
one of the
Yeah,
scariest things is always like if I'm mowing my grass in my backyard and then I just hear zoom, and like I just
golf
look
ball.
over and no, normally it's tennis balls for my dogs. A golf ball because I'll accidentally launch it at the house. Like the amount of
Oh,
times I've
yeah.
hit a back window with the tennis ball and it's just bounced back to me when I'm on the other side of my yard, like it has some
They come out with,
velocity.
they do. Well,
There was one
let
time
me
I launched a
look
tennis
it
ball
up.
by
How many
accident.
RPMs?
I launched a tennis ball by accident. I ran over it, and Liz was sitting on the couch, and it hit the glass, the window, like right where she was. And I was like, if that was a golf ball, I might have just killed my wife. Like if that
Yeah.
was a golf ball, I might have just and just been done.
So blades on a riding mower typically spin between 2,700 and 3,200 RPMs. So that is
If that
times the
translates to a
speed.
disc,
Has 3 times the speed, double the speed of somebody who's really chucking it.
Yeah. 1,400 is a lot of RPMs on the disc.
Right. So like over double that. If it gets a hold of it, it's got enough circular RPM motion to like if it can translate that to the disc. It's just like it had to have been like the perfect thing for it to like get airborne. That is one thing about
it was in a
Frisbee, though,
pile
is, like,
of leaves.
one thing about a Frisbee and especially a disc golf disc is if you get it moving and spinning, they will kind of like stabilize themselves because
Especially
that's
an
like
overstable one.
right. So like I do believe that you can generate distance on them with just more of like a uncontrollable amount of spin and speed. But like, I mean, yeah, all I can think about is running over discs with a lawnmower. I'd like to think that if you had the most durable plastics out there, your Crystal Z's, your Champion plastics, that like a lawnmower blade, I don't know.
Well, he
I mean,
said
apparently
he
not.
played with it in a C tier the next day.
Apparently it didn't gouge that bad.
I approve of 20 discs. If you guys want to do this,
I think the lawnmower is the bigger part of the equation.
I have a riding mower.
Well, we don't have access to a riding lawnmower.
No, I got one.
Yeah, one that
have a riding mower
to be broken.
Well, I mean, it's like a 15-year-old mower, anyways. It shouldn't break it. I'll
pay for the new blades.
I'll just sprinkle some discs out. I'll sprinkle some discs out in my backyard, and it'll just be an accident.
No, that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. Not in your backyard.
Yeah,
you gotta do not your backyard.
You gotta do this in like an open field so we can actually see how long it can go.
Yeah,
we'll just go to my brother-in-law's farm
uncles or
my
there,
uncles, and we'll just start churning some discs.
That would be sick.
All right.
Wait, quick question.
Disc is hard to cut.
How many discs do you think right now, if you had a one of those massive blowers, how many discs do you think you would be able to find on New London right now? Where you could just launch leaves, like you just are.
I would say
like one of those Zamboni things.
Yeah. Like
okay, Hunter, you get an hour over under 10.5 discs.
An hour? I'm saying under. I think it'd be hard to move enough leaves.
No, we're talking about those Zamboni things.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
if you've got
there's not
blower,
10 discs hidden on hole 1. So an hour and I got to blow leaves the whole time. Like I'm probably getting to like 4 holes.
I wouldn't start on hole 1. I start on hole 8 where you actually know there's one disc already out there.
That's fair.
Yeah, you could find a lot.
That'd be interesting though.
I've thought about doing a video
4
where
or 5 under one bush.
We go out to New London or one of the really popular played courses around here during the fall, and basically the premise of the video is like you can only play with discs you find.
Yeah, the
tough
thing
out
about
there
that,
and that's your only thing you could do.
The tough thing about that would be all of them would end up having names and numbers on them, and people would be like, "How dare you?" It'd be like that story where that guy lost a disc and then somebody tried it and lost it. That would be basically what we were doing.
We were actually we were the people in that story. That was just us. We filmed the video. We just lost all the discs.
Yeah.
All right. This first topic comes from Steven. And he said, are wraparound events good ideas and will we see more of them, or are they bad and we should keep the season during the season? There's no wraparound events this year, right?
Nope. Well, we haven't. I don't think so. We don't know. There could be because they haven't announced like the qualifier series.
They were all silver events previously. So I guess qualifier series might.
That's what I'm saying. If they could end up being part of the qualifier.
It'd be tough. We're almost already in
it's
December.
November. Yeah, it's like November 21st when we're
And
recording
they
this.
haven't announced anything in January. Like that would be tough. Or like
they're
the wraparound
gonna.
events were end of November too, I think last year.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking about next year's wrapper. I'm not even thinking. Yeah, it would have to been.
I don't think it'd be technically
happening.
a wraparound if it started in January. So the event would have to be like in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not gonna
think it's
happen.
happening.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever see more of them.
I think they should do
Go
They
for
should
it.
do wrap around somewhere really warm and foreign.
Oh, like the New Zealand tour we were just talking about.
Hey, yeah, maybe that's their push. That's like a wraparound tour.
There you go. Just make that the Q
I
series.
don't know. Is New Zealand warm right now?
I think as the sport also grows and like more players get into it, then you can almost have disc golf almost year round.
Yeah.
But right now we're in a world where you guys kind of discussed this a little bit on Grip Locked, of where there might be a situation not too far in the future where people are deciding, am I going to Europe and playing, or am I staying here? And now you're diluting the fields and making the tournaments worse. I think once you have 200 incredible players, you can have a tournament that has 30 or 40 of those guys show up, and another tournament where 50 or 60 show up and be fine. It's gonna be much harder when, like, how many people do you think move the needle right now? 20?
Yeah.
25?
Yeah.
15, 20, I would say.
Yeah. So if you have a handful of those people going somewhere else, now you're splitting it.
But really, I mean,
tough.
I would say there's 5 that, like, if like Eagle, Simon, Ricky, Paul, Calvin, if they all went to Europe, I'm trying to think if I'm missing anyone else, but if they all went to Europe, for instance, for that month, then like the European events would almost be more desirable to watch.
Maybe Isaac has gotten into that equation too.
It's tough. Yeah, on the fandom survey that just came out, he was up there quite a bit. But I'm just thinking, like, if you split the field with
the foundation survey just came out.
Foundation survey. If you split the field with, like, there's 20 guys that, like, everyone's happier in contention, but I think there's 5 guys that, like, draw you into a tournament, if that makes sense right now. Where, like, if they are all gone, like, you need 1 or 2 of them. If they're all gone, then it's like the field feels empty.
Here's the real wraparound tour. The real wraparound tour is we get a bunch of pros to play Disc Golf Valley during the off season on their phones, and we make that the off season tour.
There you go. Give out Pro Tour points.
Give out Pro Tour points. A tenth of a point.
How many people were paying attention to Eagle and Isaac at that silver event?
I was.
I feel like it wasn't that.
Oh, was that the Canadian Open?
I was for the final round because it was close. No.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, people.
He won the jersey.
Yeah.
Eagle got the jersey.
Oh, that was Prince Edward Island.
I don't know that it was called. Was it called the Canadian Open? It was the Discmania Open.
No.
Yeah, the Discmania Open.
But it was in Prince Edward Island, Canada. Yeah. I don't remember seeing that much buzz like leading up to the tournament. Like the fact that it came down to them at the end. No, I know, but I think if it, some of Texas State's was a silver event, and there was a lot more buzz around that because everyone was there. That's what I'm trying to say. Is we just listed 2 people, I guess 1.5 if we're not really putting Isaac in that category. My point is just like we shouldn't be looking at trying to figure out ways of like separating the best players from tournaments. We should be trying to figure out ways, how do we get the best players to play every tournament, basically, that we're trying to push.
Yeah, we're not there yet. This next one was submitted anonymously for no real reason, I don't think, but they said, "Hi, I've been playing disc golf for a couple of years and love the thoughts of hosting tournaments. What are things that make up a good TD that the general disc golfer doesn't really know about? And what would you say is the most important skill or characteristic a tournament director can have? Also love the off-season pod and the content."
Diffusing arguments.
That's a good one. Good one. I think the attention to detail is a big one. Of like really some of it comes from like already running a few tournaments. You kind of can like foresee where issues are going to come in when you're painting OB or writing a caddy book. But like the attention to details of making sure there's enough water out there, paying attention to the weather and knowing, hey, it's going to be hotter. I better have more water than if this is a colder tournament. Paying attention to what divisions you put where on a shotgun start so that, you send out more able-bodied people. Put it, I guess, a better like the MA50, MP50 guys always appreciate being close to the clubhouse, whereas the MA3 guys, they don't really care. They're just here to have a good time. Whereas I see a lot of tournament directors make the mistake of like, oh, there's only 7 people in MA50. I'll just send them out to hold 9, and they got to walk to Timbuktu. They're going to get way more upset about that than the MA3 guys walking way out there. So I think just like little attention to details of that and just being considerate and trying to just think through problems before they happen, I think is a big thing for tournament directors. But is there anything, Brodie, you haven't played a ton of local stuff, but is there ever stuff like on the Pro Tour scene, is why I wanted to bring this up, of like you can tell experienced tournament directors from non-experienced, or is it just like the Pro Tour streamlines everything?
I think the Pro Tour has certainly helped with some of the issues that I guess there were in the past, but there still are massive differences. Is that what I look like?
I spent the whole episode trying to figure out who you looked like. I settled on Vector from Despicable Me.
This might be actually my first video. If you guys aren't watching the YouTube and you're listening on a podcast, check out the YouTube, subscribe. Might be my first time ever on camera and glasses in a very long time.
Yeah,
but,
a long time. Let's go back to like Hello Kitty headphones days.
Oh, is that what it was? Maybe.
Glasses,
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, old school vlogs. Well, I was saying, I'm trying. Oh, so yeah, so there definitely are certain tournament directors that, like you said, during practice rounds, like small stuff just for the players, like during practice rounds, there's water on the courses, right? Because sometimes when we're playing these practice rounds, they sometimes can take up to 5 hours with how slow some people are playing out there. And it's just almost impossible. It's, when we're playing in the summer and it's 100 degrees out, it's really hard to actually have enough water to last 5 hours, unless you have a Camelback or something. So there's small things like that. I think also just how you set up the fan interaction with the players, I think, is a big one too. Like, do you have where we're signing this and taking photos and stuff? Is that in a good spot? Communication's a big one. I think a lot of times some stuff is like communicated last second. And the last thing I want to know is like when I'm stepping up to the tee box, I don't want to have someone telling me 2 minutes worth of new details on the course. Like that I think all should be far in advance. But I have a question for you guys. Do you think there's going to be a separation ever between pro and amateur on the tournament level? Like, I'm not talking Pro Tour. I'm talking like your local B tier. There's a pro division, and then there's a bunch of amateur divisions. I think there is enough difference between what pros are expecting at tournaments and what amateurs are expecting at tournaments that makes sense at some point. But what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I don't think it'll happen anytime soon, because it's kind of twofold. If you're a tournament director, the only way you make money is on the amateurs. So because the way the PDGA is set up, 100% of pro entry fees have to be paid out at pretty much every division. There might be some where you can go like 90%, but amateurs, you can make money with, the players pack. Obviously it costs you less than the value it gives them and stuff like that, and payouts and stuff like that. So that's what makes tournaments like intriguing to run for a tournament director. Whereas the pro side, there is no way to make money because everything that comes in goes out. And also the pros end up being the reason a lot of AMs show up, whether it be you have bigger name pros coming in and then AMs want to play in the same tournament as those bigger name pros just because like they might see them. Or in my case, when I was first getting into disc golf, the people who were really into disc golf in the local area were all pros, and they wanted people to come to tournaments with them. And so they were just like offering like, hey, I'm going to play this tournament. Do you want a free ride? You just basically sign up in whatever division. I'll bring you with me. So you notice when there's like a bigger pro field of local pros, obviously, then the AM field gets bigger. And a lot of it is because like they're just carpooling, and the pros are the ones that are committed. I'm going either way. And the AMs are kind of like wishy-washy, and they come with the pros a lot of time. But the biggest side is the financial thing, where it's just if you have a pro and AM tournament together, you can make sure the field's big enough, but then it still monetarily makes sense. So right now, the only thing we've seen is like pro and MA1 will sometimes be on Sunday, and then all the other AM divisions will be on Saturday, because then you can make them both big enough and run it that way. But I think that's kind of the biggest split we'll see. But I don't see it going where there's like pro tournaments and am tournaments on the local side.
Yeah, it's just logistically too difficult. It's already a pretty big ask for a tournament director to even put together something decent. But I think another like good way to do it, like Hunter mentioned, is you can split up the days, or you can even split up just the courses. You know, we've done that at Battle for Bedford, where like you keep the pros on a separate course, and if you're playing a different course than the AMs, it doesn't even feel like you're playing the same tournament as them. You know, it feels like a
That's
pro
correct.
tournament that way. So yeah, I think that's probably the easiest way to do it, because then, you know, you basically can run two separate things in one. You know, you can set up the pro course differently if you need to, and accommodate them the way that they need.
Well, what's funny is on the local level, I think the expectations on a tournament director and on like the quality of event is higher from AMs than from pros. Pros are a lot of
Yeah,
times much more the like go with the win, just here to have a chance at winning some money, and they don't really care that
AMs are
much about.
cutthroat, man.
Whereas AMs are very much like if there's ever something like a B tier has certain guidelines, A tier has certain guidelines. If there's ever something of like the course isn't set up in enough time in advance, or there's expected to be, I don't know, a certain percentage of stuff going to pay out, or there's an expectation on water, or any of those rules, you're hearing about it from the AM side. You're not hearing about it from pros
Hmm.
basically ever. And like whenever there's rules calls being brought in, it's 95% of the time from the AM side. Not that pros aren't making rules calls. It's either they already know it, or they're just every pro card I've played with, or as a tournament director, I've sent out or like got feedback from, way more laid back than the AM side of the sport. The AM side of the sport is where a lot of the like teeth come out, it feels like.
Yes,
So
completely agree.
it's almost easy. If there was a way to make money running pro only events, it would, I think, be easier on the local scene, because you'd be able to
Yeah,
just kind of show up and be like, hey, you
Why
guys are
isn't
here
there
to
a
make
way
some
of
money.
making money? Why isn't there a way of making money?
Because basically, the only way to make money on the pro side would be if you had cash coming in and you took some of that yourself. That's the only
Mhm.
way the PDGA structure wise.
I don't think you need extra. I think again, if we eventually get away from this stupid PDGA rating and people didn't care about that, now you have players that are like, you make the entry fees $150, right? And you have 50 people. What's that? That's was that $4,500? Is that right?
$150 times 50 people, be almost 6 grand.
Yeah,
Did I do
You
that
might be
right?
over.
Or did I way off? No, yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
7 grand.
math.
7 grand. Sorry. Um, why wouldn't you be able to then just take $500 or something off the top of that?
The
Because
only
to me
reason
it
is because
seems,
You
PDGA
definitely
right
could.
now.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
the
only reason right
PDGA
now.
yeah.
fees and requirements. Yeah,
But like, why hasn't anyone? And I could be wrong. There could be tournaments out there that are doing this that I'm not aware of. But it seems to me like that would make a lot more sense to just
well,
do a
the
tournament by yourself.
the things that are tough about that is the ratings they drive everything. People just care about them so much. But then number two, your tournament has probably a less chance of getting found if it's not listed on the PDGA. I think a
Yeah,
lot
the
of people
marketing side.
search the PDGA for
Oh,
tournaments. So it depends on who you are, right? If you have influence, or if you're part of a really big club, then it wouldn't matter. You could just post
yeah.
it on Facebook and you could get people involved. But it's the rating
Well,
and the
there's
whole system of
also
it, the live scoring. Like there's just a lot of logistical things that are integrated.
there's also from the player side, a
You could do
guarantee.
live scoring through UDisc.
You can. But there's a guarantee of the quality of event from the player side if it's a PDGA event.
Yeah.
Because like if I run an unsanctioned event and someone doesn't know me as a tournament director, they have no idea what they're walking into, because then
Do
it
you
takes
agree with
away.
that? I don't know if I agree with
Yeah.
that.
It
Unsanctioned
takes
is just
away
not
it takes
common, so
away
it kind of sounds like the Wild West to a lot of people, I
well, it
think.
takes away all accountability, because it under the PDGA, if it's sanctioned, then you have someone who is the
I
sanctioning
played a
body to go
PDGA
complain
World
to.
Championship, their biggest flagship tournament, and it was one of the worst run tournaments of my life.
Yeah,
What are you
I know.
talking about?
I'm just
What are
saying.
you talking? No, that putting the PDGA name in front of something does not mean it's going to be a good tournament.
No, it
Yeah,
means
I
but
it
completely
means there's
disagree with that.
standards. It means there's standards.
No, it
yeah,
doesn't.
It
No, I
does.
don't think it does.
There's
No,
standards you have
because
to agree to.
at their flagship tournament, they don't even abide by those own standards. So why do I think some random person that's having a C tier but its PDGA sanction is going to abide by it. That doesn't make any sense.
But I guarantee you the PDGA is going to be harder on the tournament director than they are on themselves. So I guarantee you, if I've had
what are these standards that you're talking about too?
So,
that you are going to be expecting going to PDGA.
It depends on the tier. It depends on the tier. But for instance, for the C tier, that I was a tournament director for a C tier that I wasn't technically running. So like the Liberty Disc Golf was running it, but the coach of the Liberty Disc Golf team isn't a tournament director. So I was the tournament director, and I was going to show up and just run the day of. So I didn't plan it. I didn't have anything to do with that. Day of, I got sick. I woke up with like a flu. And so I didn't feel like getting out of bed, body aches, everything. So I texted coach to be like, hey, I don't know what we want to do. We have to be like, technically, we have to cancel the tournament because I'm not there. Like the tournament director for the PDGA is not there. And he texted me back and was basically like, hey, we already have everything in place. Like you're basically just here so that a tournament official was here. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of the tournament. I'm sick. I went back to bed. Mistake on my part. But then the PDGA emails me later that day and was basically like, what the heck's going on, Hunter? I have like 5 or 6 complaints because apparently you're running a tournament that you're not at. And then I was like, shoot, like, I'm sorry. I explained everything to them and explained exactly what was going on. And they went back and forth with me. And basically I just got like a warning from the PDGA.
I think you should be suspended.
It was years ago, but it was a warning. And it was justified. I messed up.
I think we reopened the case.
It was justified, but that's what I'm saying is these players.
I'm still waiting for the standards.
It's just one of those cases.
I had to be there. That was the standard. Is the player showed up?
The standards you had to be there.
There was no tournament official. There was no rules official there, which is a standard. So but what I'm saying is the standard wasn't met at a tournament. So they had someone to go complain to, which is the PDGA, and then the PDGA.
The standard you're saying there was literally someone showing up and being there.
Okay,
right.
okay.
But
you know what? I'll go over to PDGA and I'll read
because
you
there's
the
a tournament
PDGA
director
standards.
listed. That alone means that if I were to go to a tournament and it was bad, I could complain about that tournament director. They could get their tournament directing.
I could have been suspended from the PDGA or revoked, where I could never run a tournament again.
There's at least a line of command.
Okay, let's just say I run. Let's throw a scenario out. I run a C tier here unsanctioned. Right, I'm the tournament director.
Not a C tier, then it's just an unsanctioned event.
Yeah. I run a C tier unsanctioned event here in Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do a piss poor job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you not think the word is going to get out that I do a bad job at running tournaments?
Maybe.
I feel like the word
might not.
I think the word's going to get out regardless of whether it's PDGA or not.
If some guy's just going through Vegas and searches for a tournament and just kind of sees that you're out there, he might not know about your name.
Okay, so here's the standards.
Here's the
standards. This is what the PDGA requires. This is what the PDGA requires. So
if I'm a PDGA stands,
if I'm a player showing up to a C tier, if I'm a player, you've watched any amount of our podcast, you know how I stand on the PDGA. But if I'm a player and I'm showing up to a C tier, then I know that as a pro, 85% of my net entry is coming back to me. I know as an AM, same thing. I know that there's insurance. I know that if I get hurt.
Hold on. First off, I can give you that. I want to say stuff that there's the thumbs up. I want to say stuff that I could do too with that being unsanctioned. So I also
but it's a guarantee. No one's holding you to it. This has an organization that is holding you to these standards.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I can tell people. I could go onto our local Facebook group and I say, hey, show up tomorrow. First person to ace gets $5 million. And then they show up, someone aces, and I don't give them the money, and there's no reprimand for me.
Yeah, you didn't
because
do
there's no one holding me to that standard. There is an organization holding me to this standard. Are you saying
you should never stop? You should never shop at family-owned businesses? What are we talking about here? That's literally what. That's literally
what.
You guys, I'm saying, like, you guys are saying there's no standard or whatever. There is. Yeah. If I'm saying, hey, I'm going to give out 85% of the money, and then all of you guys put your money entry fees in, and I don't give out 85% of the money, I can be held accountable. What are you talking about?
By who?
You can get sued. What are you guys talking about?
Someone's gonna sue you over $20?
Yeah. Someone sued the freaking guy in Florida sued someone for getting hit with a frisbee. What are we talking
And
about
the reason he's going to lose that is the PDGA certificate of insurance that they got from sanctioning. That's the whole reason he doesn't have a case. Is because the PDGA was backing it.
Can I not create a same waiver and have people sign that? What are we talking about here? I can have someone whip up the same exact waiver.
You can do all of that. You could do it. It could be the perfect event, but there's no guarantee as a player beforehand. The PDGA sanctioning provides that guarantee.
We're not explaining to you why unsanctioned events should never happen. That's not what we're doing. We're telling you why people tend to choose them. They tend to choose them because they know them. They're familiar. That is why people choose everything in life. It's because they're familiar and comfortable with them. I'm not telling you that I believe that unsanctioned events should be more popular. I think that it would be cool for the sport to like explore those things, but I'm just telling you why it happens. That's why people choose.
Because
these other things.
I also know as a player that I'm not going to have to deal with stroke and distance.
Is there that many people doing unsanctioned events though?
Yeah, it's tons.
I have no idea.
We used to play the Brawl series. We used to play the Brawl series. It was like 15 events. There used to be 3 PDGA events in our area and like 12 unsanctioned events every year, and people played them every year.
It's true. Good time. Pretty sketchy though, but a good time.
They were. Well, because you didn't know there was no standards on the baskets. You showed up and there were baskets with one chain.
That is true. That is true.
Because there's no standard. No one was holding it.
Yeah, I did play. I did have to walk across a frozen river on top of a metal ladder and hold on to a rope. That did happen in the snow.
That could happen in a PDGA event, but the baskets couldn't.
I guess,
but I would have been protected if I died.
That is also true. You would just die.
I guess the only thing I kind of arguing maybe is not so much just like a lone ranger going out there and running one event. But I guess what I'm kind of arguing is almost like the PDGA right now feels like they have a clamp on disc golf.
Oh, they totally do. Yeah.
And
no, I
think there should be like a Southeastern mini tour of where it has nothing to do with the PDGA at all. Like, I don't think you need to have the PDGA hold your hand to be successful in disc golf.
No,
and I think the more we give that power to the PDGA, that everything has to run through them, I think that's bad. I don't think that's
I totally
fair.
agree. I totally think that it makes a lot of sense. I think other people should explore those options. I am merely saying that this is why people have been stuck in this pattern. It's because they established it early. It's just convenient. Like, that's just what it is. It's convenient. It's familiar. That's what people choose. But yeah, I would play an unsanctioned tournament. Like, once you get past the ratings thing, I'm telling you, the ratings are everything. Because here's the other thing is,
I think that might be the big thing is people don't want to play an event unless they're going to get a rating.
If it weren't for ratings, people would run tournaments that were way cheaper. I would run a tournament that's like $5 entry, winner takes all, and people would probably play it. But because of the way things are standardized right now, like, you're not going to see a tournament for cheaper than like $35-$40 entry as an AM. So like, at least in my experience. So I do think that if it weren't for the ratings thing, people would be more inclined to do unsanctioned events because they would make them cheaper. Because you could do them for so much cheaper.
There's a series that's called the Southern Nationals Disc Golf Series. Unsanctioned series, really official website. Entry fees are like $5, $10 per. And
that's good stuff.
They run all year, every year. And you can like go on their website and see.
Where do they play? We should play one.
I think these need to be. I think these need to be like marketed.
Oh, you said it was
I think these
Southeast.
need to be like talked about more.
Southern Nationals.
Oh, Southern.
Yeah,
Cyrus is just an absolute animal.
I would say I bet there's a bunch of people that had no idea that this existed that would play in this, and hopefully they can.
Maybe. It's New Orleans. This is in Louisiana.
But
Hunter, my point is, I think a lot of times people get into disc golf and they're like, what should I do? How do I play in tournaments? And people just throw them right at the PDGA and go that way.
Because it's the easiest.
I'm saying maybe we should, like, I don't know, maybe talk about that.
I think each local.
I think you just brought that up.
I think each local area.
The BDGA, the Brodie Disc Golf Association.
No.
Well, I think each local area has
$99 in handling fees, though.
That is tough.
I showed you guys that $99 in handling fees.
It went straight into my pocket.
To get a tour card. Explain that to me.
That's my job. I'm the handler.
I think that local scenes do this a lot more than you think. Because like
that's the thing, it's just hard to find them.
The Blue Ridge Area Winter League Like, it was very well marketed in our area. It was a big thing. There was like 50 to 60 people every week in a time when sanctioned tournaments in this area were getting less than that. But it was, if you were outside of this area, there's no way you would know about it, and there's no reason to know about it because it was just
There
for
needs to
local
be more
guys.
winter leagues.
Yeah, these are in my opinion, these aren't like I'm traveling more
Yeah.
than 2 hours.
But that's what I'm saying
Like
is, how do
these
we
are all
know that
very
it's not
local.
going on? What you're saying right now, how do we know it's not happening in every local area?
I mean, in Dallas, I guess they did have, but those were sanctioned. Those were sanctioned under PDGA. Those were all. I think it's ratings.
It is.
Trevor, I think you're
it
right.
is.
I think it's
Yeah,
100%
it is. No,
ratings.
it is. Because if you're
Dirty
weighing,
Dozen. They had a Dirty Dozen. It was 12 tournament little series in
Yeah.
Texas, but they were all sanctioned. They were all
if you're an
PDGA.
AM, ratings are what you play for. Like, you don't care about the payout being a gift card. Like, you're playing for your rating to try and get as high rate as you can, because then maybe someday you could play professionally or whatever it might be. But like, if I'm weighing my budget right now, me personally, I'd just be looking for what's going to be fun to play. I don't really care about ratings anymore, but I sure used to. And I would be thinking, okay, there's 2 tournaments on this weekend. One's sanctioned, one's not. Do I spend the same amount of money and get a rating or not get a rating? I'm probably going to go where the rating is. And then everybody thinks that way. So now the sanctioned tournament is the more populated one too, which is the one you want to play. And that's just how it goes. The ratings have a grip on people. I'm telling you, here's what we need to do. We need to develop an algorithm, our own algorithm, and we need to make it open source so anybody can take it and apply it to their tournament. And then we don't even charge them for it. It's free. And then anybody who wants to run an unsanctioned event can just grab our algorithm. They just download it from our website, and they have their own rating system that's different.
Well, but the whole problem is then it's not a universal.
I'm pretty sure I just put myself on a watch list saying that.
The whole goal of the ratings is like,
nice knowing me.
I can compare my rating to someone in Massachusetts and someone.
No, but you could do this. You could do that with our system. We'd have to develop an algorithm that applies.
I think that's
what
UDisc. I think that's what UDisc is literally trying to do. I think UDisc is trying to do that, but right now their system is really bad because
we're just gonna make ours like super simple. You get a 1 through 10.
You got
do
soccer.
9.8.
But UDisc's round rating is broken right now. It is. I guess it's not broke. Is it broken if it was never right? I guess it was. I guess it's technically not broken. I guess it.
I mean, it's fun to look at. You just got to look at ratings as something that's just like fun.
It's just a fun little thing.
No, but it's not though. No, but it's not though, because in other sports, it's not. Because in other sports, you need to have some sort of number.
You already stopped. You already lost it. Can't compare ratings to other sports.
You mean why not?
Ratings are like quarterback. It's like quarterback ratings, where it's like a stat that you look at and you're like, oh, okay, but
it's
you
like
don't really know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You're like, no, Brock Purdy had a 148 rating. Like, what does that mean?
You need to have something to be able to tell whether or not you're getting better. You got to have something that
ratings will do that. Ratings will do that.
True. Like there are literally some statistics in sports, kind of like the quarterback rating, where like people kind of just be like, if you get over 100, people are just kind of like, oh, they had a good game. And if it's below 100, they're like, oh, they didn't have a good game. Like, but nobody really micro analyzes it. I feel like ratings almost have to be that way, where you can just glance at them and be like, oh, you averaged like 1030, like you must have played pretty well. But like if you look too close at it and start comparing it and looking at other rounds and this, then it starts to get a little fuzzy and you're like, what's going on?
Ratings, if they're just if ratings are just generally accepted, then they make sense. It's once you get to the nitty gritty. Like, because if you show up to a local tournament, then there's going to be some times where you play 1,000 rated round and it should have been 1030, and sometimes it should have been 980. But if you just accept like someone's like 1020 rated, they're guaranteed good at disc golf. No matter how they got that 1020 rating, they're guaranteed capable of good disc golf. They might not be consistently 1020. Same thing with like a 970 person. They're competent every time. You're not going to find a 970 player that's not competent at disc golf. And then
what's like the wildlands? What's like the no man's land of ratings, where like that player could be either so good or awful? Like, what's that number where it's like right in the middle?
960,
like
950.
I think it's like 950, 960.
I would say like a couple, like 980, 970.
There's like 950 rated guys though that could shoot like 1020, 1030, but then it's like if they could also the next day shoot 810.
Hunter's just describing himself.
No,
Yeah.
950
I
though.
mostly
You'll
said
find
that
some
'cause
dogs in the
you
950
and
ratings.
I think you and I live in that wildlands of like
Let me
we can just float around.
let me say one actually thing. Ratings are addicting, right? I
Oh
think
yeah.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
I think the PDGA has found our addiction because I'm now thinking about it. I love playing Risk. If they did not have a rating on Risk of where it's like you start at novice or beginner, novice.
Novice.
You start novice,
It's the
beginner.
same way with
You
chess.
you would know because that's where you are.
I'm a beginner.
Novice.
I've grouped up.
Okay. You
Yep.
go beginner, intermediate, expert, master,
Yeah.
grandmaster, right? And you see a points.
Yeah.
And right now, I am the closest I've ever been to grandmaster. I'm at like 1,000 points away from grandmaster. I'm at 24 or 25,000, I think. I need like less than
Right.
1,000 points. If they
It's
did not have that, I would be like, today I'm going to be streaming Risk. I'd probably be less like excited going into my
yeah.
stream if I had
It
no
is
idea what
it is
my
because the human
thing is.
mind likes tangible things. And when you can
Yes,
start
love it.
playing something and you can literally look on a chart and see this is when I become the best or a pro, and you can see yourself move up that chart, like you're just watching it happen. Because imagine if there wasn't ratings in disc golf and you just kind of had to figure out how good you were. You'd basically have to find people that you knew were professionals or close to it and play them. Like that's the only way you would know. The rating system, that's why it's addictive. It's just like it's the same thing with, like you mentioned, Risk, chess. It's like I'm watching myself like rise up this list. And that's what it is with disc golf, is like people love the idea of like I can play wherever I want and I can compare myself to anybody.
I
Should we
think
create a
here's my
foundation
opinion.
rating system?
Here's
Foundation
my
rating
opinion.
Yeah,
system.
I think so. I think we go to the drawing board.
I
I
don't
have an
think
idea after you, Hunter.
I don't think ratings are broken. I think the way people perceive them is broken. I think the
People are
ratings
broken, man.
I think the ratings as they stand could serve like a solid purpose if they were accepted more in general terms and not looked at a very nitty-gritty analytical stat. Like
Is
they
PJ
can't.
in the room with you right now?
No, I'm just saying, like, they can't be if the
Yeah, Hunter
problem
loves Manabu.
the problem with like Manabu Kajiyama is a fantastic disc golfer, right? He is probably like 1020 rated, 1030 rated. Yes. I've watched the guy in person.
No.
I've watched him in person. I know he is a
No.
very, very good disc golfer. Pound for pound, he's the farthest thrower on the planet.
You would think he'd be 1030 rated. How much money are you betting that he would be 1030 rated after playing a full disc golf pro tour season?
I think he'd be like
That's all he played.
10, 12, 10, 15
I was gonna say 10-15 is what I would put
on
him
the
at.
tour.
I said like
Not
1020,
1030.
1030. I could see 1025. I could see it. He's solid. He's a very solid player. But what I'm saying is
feel
the
like
same
Gotham.
conversation we had, right? Right now, we perceive 1050 as like the greatest player of all time, right? Like incredible.
Mhm.
But if it's just understood of like 1010 to 1050, they're just really, really good disc golfers. You know, like if it was a broader group that you put stuff
Yeah.
in,
Well,
then,
we said this a
then
million
ratings
times
can
where it's like,
understand more.
The problem though, Hunter, is there's a difference between a 1010 disc golfer over here and a 1010 disc golfer over here.
But that's what I'm saying.
Those
Is
are
if it's
different.
broad, I would bet they're both 1,000 rated.
Well, we made a
Probably,
website
like,
for
wherever
that,
they go.
didn't we? What was our website where you could compare the ratings in every state?
Yeah, I forgot.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we already have a website for
I'm
that.
just saying, if it was more just like generalized, where it's just like a understood, like maybe we
You're
should make a
right.
we need to make a website where you just plug your rating in and it just spits
No,
out
no,
a
no.
label.
Bad, okay,
Like good
or
at disc
good.
golf,
No.
great at
No,
disc
no.
golf,
No,
mediocre,
this is my idea.
solid, bad.
This is my idea. We create
Okay.
our own rating system. It's called the Foundation Rating System. For $10,000, myself and the Bogey Bros will fly out and play one round with you. And
then we'll
after
tell you.
judging you play one round, we will give you a rating. We'll
I'm
put
in.
you on a chart, and
I'm
then we'll
in.
continue to build. And based off of what we saw, like if we go out to Jimmy and he's the first guy, he's the best we've ever seen, he's 1,000 rated. Then we go
Mhm.
out to Charles. Charles is way better than Jimmy. Jimmy, you are now 950 rated. Charles, you are 1,000 rated. And we just
There you go.
keep growing it. I think $10,000, that's a fair price.
I can't agree more. I love that idea. I think probably the funniest thing we could do as a company is have this giant arc where we talk about how much we hate
all
ratings, and it ends with us creating our own rating system. Like it would pretty much be the funniest thing ever to happen. No, I love it though. I think in-person tryouts for your rating, for your
There you go.
foundation certified rating.
Foundation certified ratings.
We
Love
can
it.
put ourselves on the board first.
Yeah, we'll set the
You get
standard.
one
Trevor and I are
round.
1,000 rated. And then if you beat
Yeah.
us, you become 1,000 rated. If you lose, it goes down.
If you lose, you're 800 rated.
I'm pulling one stat up real quick. All right, I got it. Okay, here we go. One of the longer courses that we played on tour was the Open at Austin, more of an open golf course style with a lot of OB and length, right?
Mhm.
This is my definition of like where the ratings don't hold up. Michael Johansson is potentially one of the best wooded golfers on tour.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he plays that tournament. He shoots 990, 998, 1002. He is rated 1015. He just recently shot a 1080 rated round at some, I don't know, C tier event, 2-day C tier event. And then if you go to like Ledgestone, for example, I'm trying to remember what days we played. Oh, he played MP40 in Ledgestone. He didn't even play the same courses. But you look at Worlds, he shoots a 1032 at Brewster, right? So that's where I disagree with, because there is such a difference between wooded golf and open golf. It's hard to say that this 1010 rated guy is equivalent to 1010, because you could take a 1010 rated guy and put him in the woods and he couldn't break 960.
It's true.
You're looking at myself right here.
One of the biggest flaws in the rating system and why it's so hard to regulate how good somebody is at disc golf is because of the difference in courses. And yeah, the idea that there are guys, if you take them to a golf course where they're just throwing bombs, they're going to destroy you, but then you go into the woods and they're going to stink. So yeah, that's definitely a thing.
I got great news for
everyone. 2 ratings.
I got great news for everyone listening. The rating system has now been updated. We will now be going out and giving you 2 ratings. We'll be giving you a W rated.
Only $20,000.
Yeah,
$20,000. You get a package deal where we give you a W rating, which is your woods rating, and we give you an O rating, which is your open rating.
There you go. You W and you O.
And you can actually get a third
$20,000.
rating. You get a third rating for free, which is you add them both and divide it by 2, and it gives you your H rating for hybrid courses.
There you go.
Yeah, that's for free. That's just included in the $20,000.
Find me on Venmo.
easy payments at $19.99.
Not 10 easy payments at $19.99, Brodie. That's only $200.
No, $19.99. $1,999.
Yes.
Nobody calls
correct.
that.
That is correct. All right, we're gonna skip the next question because we parked on ratings a lot longer in the PDGA.
Sorry. That was a fun little combo.
This is more of a confessional than a topic.
Oh, perfect.
Nate says, "I'm a PDGA criminal."
I love this.
I was playing MA3 in a C tier in 2022. I managed to get myself deeper in the woods than I've ever been. It was complete jail with no gaps, so I folded up my elevation koi and chucked it out of the woods. It was a great toss, landing and coming to rest on the fairway. One of my card mates asked if it was legal. I knew it had been banned, but I showed him a video of Matt Bell doing it, and it was all the evidence he needed.
Dang, that's dirty, man. He knew.
Yeah.
And he even showed him, man, that's messed up that he duped that guy too. That guy is going to be walking around like just with the uttermost confidence, like, no, it's legal. Like I've literally seen it in a tournament. Yeah, Matt Bell did it. And some guy's gonna crush his spirit, and he's gonna realize like 5 years from now, he's probably listening to this right now, and he's like, oh my gosh, I was that guy. I got lied to.
Yeah.
Should it be legal still, guys? Should it be legal?
No, I
don't think you should be able to make a disc that floppy.
Weird.
I'm gonna come out and say it.
Yeah, I don't think a disc should be that floppy ever.
Yeah.
I think there should be a certain amount of rigidity required, because at what point are we throwing like that slime that you can buy like as a kid's toy and just throwing that at the basket? Biggest piece goes in.
After reading through the rules for this rules test that I took for an hour yesterday, shout out to the PGA there. One of the rules was the amount of stuff. Like I broke a rule when I did that Instagram video of me just chucking a disc at a tree. Like that's apparently against the rules. There are so many rules that there's a rule. You cannot purposely do something to a disc to change its flight.
Yeah. That is true.
So me standing and just throwing a disc at a tree, I'm purposely doing something so that the disc
That's
changes
so
its flight.
funny. It's like, oh, what is something going to do? Figure it out. Like, come on now. Well, I mean, if you post on Instagram, they might.
No, I know, but my point is there's a lot of rules that I think a lot of people break without knowing they're breaking them, or maybe they do and no one cares.
Yeah.
But going to the fact that you have a disc that you can manipulate like that, the floppy
Now,
disc should be outlawed.
I think I actually just broke the sport with this idea. I think I broke the sport. Let's say you're playing a really heavily wooded course like Northwoods. Okay. We already know for a fact there's no limit on how many discs you can carry it around. No limit whatsoever. What you do is you have somebody design your favorite disc, like a controllable mid-range or whatever it might be, in a plastic that breaks on impact. Now, when you're playing in the woods, you either hit the fairway and you're totally fine, or as soon as you touch a tree, the disc explodes and you can never kick out of bounds or far into the woods. Your disc just
And
explodes.
you get to choose the biggest piece for where you're
Exactly.
playing from. So as long as it breaks evenly like tempered glass, you have 30 lies to play from.
Exactly.
That's a great idea.
You just have as many as you want.
It's
mean, come on now.
biodegradable, so you don't even have to pick it up.
If I didn't get put on the watch list before by the PDGA, I'm on it now. Because
can I put a request out to our listeners?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I just wanted permission before I did it. Request.
That's a Brodie people don't want to see, man.
One of my favorite stories that you guys send in are stories of lost discs and the interactions you have with people. So if you have any crazy lost disc stories of whether you are trying to return a disc or you're trying to get a disc back, if you have any of those and you have screenshots of the text or anything like that, please send those in, because those are some of my absolute favorite to read and listen to.
It'd be a crazy like series. It'd be a crazy like social media series to like become national treasure hunters for lost discs that people have, and like try and use our sphere of influence to like track down these long lost discs that people have lost over the years, and see like even if it ended up halfway across the state or across the country.
Is that what that?
Yeah,
what that
like
is? Cold cases.
Like, I lost this disc years ago. It was in a place I knew it probably got found, and like we try and track it down. And someone's like, "Oh my gosh, my buddy throws a disc just like that, and I think it has a random name on it," and then we have a happy reunion.
That could be electric.
This is actually turning into just kind of a foundation meeting of just coming up with ideas. But
if anybody steals our ideas, I'm going to sue.
That is true. Trevor will. What if we did a series where we created a new, like we came up with like a Google number or something? I think you could do that. You come up with a new number.
Oh, you can make a Google number.
And we basically plant lost discs on courses. And we film the whole process. We film the whole interaction back and forth. We try to create a really weird interaction to where the people are kind of sketched out, but not too sketched out. But if they end up
like
going
what would you do situation,
if they end up with going through and actually meeting up to give you the disc back, we're just there with like $500, and we just give them $500.
I love it. So it just encourages.
It's like a what would you do? You ever watch that show?
Kind of,
with,
yeah. So
with Ken Munoz or whatever his name is.
This is great. It encourages people to just like always respond to really weird texts of people trying to lure them to like dark parking lots. Perfect.
There will never be any funnier than that. There's never gonna be anything funnier than that guy who declared what was the law? What's the law called?
Pirate law or whatever.
No, what's it called?
Maritime law.
That was the funniest thing that ever happened. That whenever that happened in disc golf, that was like a couple years ago at this point, I started to think to myself like, oh my gosh, disc golf is finally arriving. Like there are like some funny people playing this sport and like doing some funny things.
I think,
and nothing that funny has happened since.
Well, I think the guy might have been serious too on top of it all.
Yeah, like that's just the kind of characters I want to see highlighted more in our sport. That is so funny.
We're gonna end
Let me paint you a picture.
Let me paint you a picture.
Okay, you have this weird interaction with this guy. You tell him, "Hey, just meet me up. I'm getting done with my round. I'll meet you in the parking lot, 7:00." You get a white, unmarked van. You scream into the parking lot, slide the door open. You come out with a mask. and then you rip them. I mean, like that's.
I mean,
great
you're gonna
video.
get shot if
You
you're in
might
the
get
wrong part of
shot,
the country. Yeah. I mean, if you're
Around
anywhere
here-
near where we live.
Around here,
Somebody
you're getting
is-
a few to your chest.
Yeah, somebody's
Okay, but if
spraying
you
you.
don't,
But then you have a bulletproof vest
video.
on, and you
Yes,
rip it
bulletproof
out,
vest.
and you're like, "Here's your Z-Lite nuke. I had it the whole time. It saved me." And you pull out the Z-Lite nuke, and it's got bullet.
It's got some
casings
bullet
in it.
holes in it now. But oh god. All right, this is one of the craziest disc golf stories I've ever heard to wrap up the show. I'm not even kidding.
Hey, man.
Oh,
And it ends with a question where Tavin's who submitted it, he needs our help. So
okay.
Tavin said, "This is a crazy story that happened to me at an unsanctioned event." Brodie's favorite. This is perfect to wrap up this episode. I'm 15, but I always play with the adults. I have a course in my backyard, so I get a lot of practice. So normally, what is going on? Getting a phone
You
call.
got this.
My computer just started spazzing. Okay.
You're good.
I have a course in my backyard, so I get a lot of practice. So normally all the conversation is about how I'm outplaying the adults. But on this particular day, we started talking about how quiet the woods were. Then out of a sudden, my card mates said, "Do you hear that?" And we all stopped and listened. Off in the distance, you could just hear police sirens. We thought nothing of it. About 15 minutes go by, and we hear them again. But this time they're getting closer and closer. We called the tournament director, and he said, "Don't worry about it, just keep playing." So we did, but the sirens were still going and seemed to be pretty close. Then out of the blue, we hear dogs barking. It's the police.
Oh.
They started yelling at us to get on the ground and ended up taking us all into the police station. Turns out there's a manhunt going on in the woods, and we all ended up getting out, and they found the guy. But now my parents won't let me play tournaments anymore. What should I do?
Bro, that is crazy.
He got caught in the middle of a manhunt.
Well, I thought the guy they were hunting was going to come running straight through. Like that would have been even crazier.
The police
They
and
all got
dogs
arrested.
just came and
Man,
arrested him.
this guy's 15
He's
too. Like that's
15.
traumatizing. Oh my gosh. I just imagine like, how was the tournament? Oh, I got taken downtown. Like, yeah, they booked me. There's a mugshot.
So he wants to know, like, what do we tell him to tell his parents to let him play more tournaments?
How about that's never happened ever before, ever. Like,
yeah, if your parents,
how many manhunts do you have in your woods?
He might have. I'm saying that's a red flag. He might have to move out. If his
And you were
parents
never,
aren't allowing him to play, his parents might be way too protective. He might have to move out of the house.
that is crazy. I mean, oh my gosh, I've never heard anything like that before.
Yeah, I read that. I was like, that is the crazy.
He
I've
was
seen some
completely
crazy
safe, though.
stuff
The
on
police
disc
were there,
golf
man.
courses. Yeah, I've seen some crazy.
You
That's
guys
what I would
ever
tell
seen
them.
that helicopter manhunt?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen it in person?
There's been some in our neighbor and like around us where like a helicopter's flown over looking for.
Yeah, we just had one not that long ago.
Light going
spotlight.
down.
Yeah.
Freaking scary, man. You're like, what the heck?
We were basically just told keep your doors locked and don't answer if someone comes knocking at your door. Don't open
That's
it.
crazy.
Yeah, it was
They
wild.
got arrested, and like, what if you were having the best round of your life?
That's
and you're like,
what I would tell your parents, Tavin, is be like. What I would tell your parents, Tavin, is yeah, it's true. He didn't get to finish the tournament.
do you
That
know
sucks.
how everybody? You know how everybody meets at the end of the round and is like, "Oh, I would have played well, but I had roll away." Imagine being the guy that's like, "Yeah, I had a good birdie streak going, and then I got arrested. I got handcuffed.
Dog latched onto my arm. And ripped
Yeah,
me down
German
to the
Shepherd
ground.
almost gnawed my leg off.
German Shepherd came out of nowhere, grabbed my bag. His
That
police
would've been
came from
way better.
behind.
If one of the dogs would have got somebody, like, oh my gosh, so funny.
Yeah, Tavin, I would just tell your parents like you've never been safer. The police were literally in
they
the
were
woods
there.
with you at the tournament. Like, sure,
Yeah,
it's a
that's
little bit of a
the safest disc golf
misunderstanding,
tournament ever.
but the cops are right there. So
I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, you play some of those tournaments in Vegas, you never know who you might run into. Sometimes you wish there was a police presence.
That's true. That's true. All right, well there you have it. That's gonna wrap up this episode of the off season. Be sure to check the link in the description down below to submit your stories, specifically your lost disc stories. We want to hear some crazy interactions you've all had. Hopefully, no one else has been arrested that didn't deserve to on the disc golf course. But if you've been arrested and you did deserve to, maybe that's a good story too. Who knows? But we're going to wrap it up. We'll talk to you again, same time, same place next week. Hope y'all have a great Thanksgiving.